This is going to be very short and sweet. We've heard the phrase, there's nothing new under the sun, or most everything is a rehash, or I've heard it all before, or it's not possible to build anything and they will come just on that basis alone, or you must market because everything is basically the same and you must differentiate yourself from the pack, or you must pretend to be an expert to get market share, or who are you kidding if you think you're any better than anyone else? Well, maybe there's a point to all this. For instance, unless, as one man, Christo, put it in California, you've invented something quite profound technologically speaking, you probably haven't come up with that much quite different, and thus don't have much of a new, different mousetrap, as even Seth Godin has talked about. In fact, Seth Godin, the marketer, has talked about how much of what he says isn't original, and neither is much of anything else anyone else is saying. And once again, the sage from the Old Testament of the Christian tradition and viewpoint, who was it? Solomon said there's nothing new under the sun, including in books basically, saying there's too much making of books. Well, what would be a better mousetrap than including beyond technological progress, unless we're talking, of course, reinventing somehow the human brain with, what is it, CRISPR technology, or let's say giving us another chance at life by cryogenic freezing of our brain, or transferring it to a silicon chip. I'm talking something far greater than transitioning, say, to the computer age, pluses and minuses, or, shall we say, the iPhone and the iPad, some would say. What can be even better than all of this? Maybe it's to elevate to the point where we can communicate respectfully to other people, and of course to ourselves. We call this self-acceptance, perhaps. Maybe we need a whole new vocabulary set, which in my mind is true to who we are as human beings, as opposed to the vocabulary set we use when we talk about inanimate objects like rocks, trees, cars, and, quote, animals other than ourselves. For we give ourselves all too often, because it feels good, choice, free will, and then our vocabulary set, I do believe, very, very likely, follows suit. And that, in turn, causes magnanimously big problems with self-respect, but moreover also respect for others. The new mousetrap, thus, would be perhaps, this is speculative, of course, because I don't get much validation on it, especially, but my father, having had a PhD, still does, in English literature, and training me up a lot in English, writing and such, that maybe a complete revamping of our vocabulary to a deterministic vocabulary set about people, not just, quote, objects, non-peoples, is in order, not just, but necessary to mankind's further advancement. Not just solving world hunger or cancer or who knows what, or better housing or lifespan extension. Otherwise, we're just going to be creatures who live 100,000 years in palaces or in islands in Fiji, but we're still miserable because we're disrespecting ourselves and others. Better to be a short-lived mosquito, perhaps. This is my thought, then.